I will sing of mercy and justice to you, O Lord. I will sing praises. I will behave wisely in a perfect way. Oh, when will you come to me? I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. I will set nothing wicked before my eyes. I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not cling to me. A perverse heart shall depart from me. I will not know wickedness. Whoever secretly slanders his neighbor, him I will destroy. The one who has a haughty look and a proud heart, him I will endure. Him I will not endure. My eyes shall be on the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He who walks in a perfect way, he shall serve me. He who works deceit shall not dwell within my house. He who tells lies shall not continue in my presence. Early I will destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all the evildoers from the city of the Lord. Lord God, Heavenly Father, please alleviate the spirits of Mr. Charlie Kirk's widow and his orphaned children. Be with the people who knew him, alleviate their spirits, and the people who knew of him, all of whom are grieving and mourning for his loss. He truly was a champion, a servant of you, and a friend to all of us, even if many of us didn't necessarily agree with all of his methods, and he will be sorely missed. If such be your will, use his example to inspire us to fix the problems that caused his death, but only if such be your will. I pray this in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, Mr. Fahrenheit, for leading us in that prayer. Well, we all know why we're here, so we won't belabor ourselves with introductions, and I'm sure everyone knows the guests. Mr. Redhawk, the president of the Old Glory Club, I will pass the baton to yourself for initial comments, if you would like to present any.
Well, really, what more is there to say other than it's a bad day, gentlemen. It's a very, very, very sad day as well, and Charlie, we were talking just before we went live. It really just hits home because this guy could easily have just been any one of us. I mean, I never met Mr. Kirk. I know a lot of people who do know him. They're all very, very sad and struck by this horrible act. And we just saw the trajectory this guy was going on, and it's not unreasonable to assume at all that we could have been friends in the future. Well, and it's unfortunate that this man was taken from us. He was taken from us by the same evil that we are all fighting. It's incumbent on all of us to ensure that that we win. That's really all there is to it. We just have to win.
We have to win. Blood has been spilled. It will be spilled many times again. Perhaps next time it will be someone closer to us. We pray not, but regardless, we can't be stopped. We won't be stopped by this sort of thing. It simply makes us stronger, and it would be unfitting. It would be a dishonor to the memory of past and future martyrs if we did not push forward with everything we have for the good of all of our people in all of our separate countries. This is not only something that's happening in America, and it's coming home. Like you said, we could see someone like Charlie Kirk. People in our organization could have broken bread with him very soon in the future had this not occurred. And it really hits home, I think, for people, myself, obviously a much lesser figure than Charlie Kirk. I don't have a family. I've been on stage, it could have been any one of us. We've all been to events, conferences, spoken. It could be any of us at any time. We all have to be prepared for it. I've been prepared for it. It's difficult, especially if you have a family, but we have to be ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. And if anything, today shows us what we're up against and what we have to prepare our bodies and souls for. Pete, I'll pass it to you, and then to Mr. Sandbatch, who's graciously joined us.
Well, let's just. I mean, I know I've seen people point this out on the timeline before, and it is, it's probably something a lot of people have already seen. But remember, Charlie tried to do it right. He believed in the system to a certain extent, I'm sure. And he believed in debate. He believed in changing people's minds, and I'm sure he changed a lot of people's minds. And very much like a bunch of other people who inadvertently bring someone over to their opinion, and then all of a sudden they pass right by him and come over towards us. I'm sure that happened numerous times. That pipeline, as they call it. But Charlie did things the right way. He did it legally. He, as far as I know, he never advocated breaking the law, doing anything. And just know that these people, they don't care if you're doing it the right way. They don't care if you're polite. They don't care that you have a family. They don't care that you have kids. They just want you dead. If they see you as their enemy, they are going to want you dead. I just did episode 70 of 200 Years Together today, and we were talking about the Cheka and reading, and you just read about how they would go into towns and execute the whole town if they had to. You read about the Spanish Civil War, and you read about anybody who they thought would, was in their way or could potentially be in their way, they killed. And there were plans that they said that they would kill half the country if that needed to be. That's who these people, that's where these people descend from. That's who our enemy is. And, Charlie didn't sign up as the kind of partisanship that Thomas describes. Those people know that there's a chance that something like this could happen. But they went after somebody, they killed somebody who, we would call mainstream. That I definitely didn't agree with all the time. And definitely counter-signaled us. And we would go after him when he did. But I think, our president, Red Hawk, is right. Charlie, like a lot of other people in the mainstream, seemed to have been on a journey, and he seemed to have been moving further right, moving a little bit more right as time went by. And, that doing it the right way didn't help him. Trying to be respectful didn't help him. If they want you dead, they're just going to kill you. And that's who these people are. And that's who their forebears were. And that's why we talk about the Spanish Civil War, and we talk about the Bolsheviks. We talk about the French Revolution. Because that's who these people are. And we need to remember that.
I mean, make no mistake. This is exactly what they wanted to have happen last year with Donald Trump on live TV. And they got it today in a extremely graphic manner.
But I mean, the thing is that doesn't, and I think to burst in this way, I will preface this by saying, because how I work, and I think y'all all know me well enough to know that I can't do any work at my house, so I'm always like Soren Kierkegaard in cafes, and so when things happen, I'm usually in public, and this was a really weird instance, and I am always blown away by this year, that Charlie Kirk, and I will also say I met him once in 2016. I was in grad school, and he was doing an event at LSU, and I was smoking a cigarette in the quad, and these two like smoking hot women came up to me and they were like, "You want to go meet Charlie Kirk?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I do. Take me to him." And I briefly talked to him. I mean, I was hiding behind a pseudonym at the time. I mean, I still am, but I was hiding behind a different pseudonym at the time, and so he didn't really know who I was, and I wasn't really anything. But he seemed like a nice guy, and we've always, we've had sort of differences with him and that sort of thing. But, when you say he did the right thing, he did things the right way. I am always impressed. I'm impressed by, first of all, the sort of normie right's ability. And I will say this, all of us, we're all, except for Paul, we're all well over 30 here, I think now. Most of us have been around for a long time, and when we signed up for this 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whatever, at the tail end of the Bush administration or whenever it was, it was all fun and games. Like nobody expected it to get this real, and then we've sort of acclimated ourselves to how real it can get over the course of the last decade, and we seem kind of like, some of us are a little jaundiced and a little callous. I mean, today was it's shocking, but I also got to see this thing where what the fruits of ultimately of doing it the right way are. They don't help you. And he was exposed to a tremendous amount of danger, probably more times than he ever really realized he was, because it's the time that gets you, that realize exactly what you've been doing, and it's too late then. But I don't think he would have done anything differently. But I was in public whenever the news of this started breaking, and just like when I was in DC a couple of weeks ago, I had an experience in DC a couple of weeks ago where I was taking Uber home, and this woman, Uber driver, started sobbing to me in the car, and she was thankful. And ultimately, she was a single mom, and she was thankful for Donald Trump's deploying the National Guard and so on and so forth. And I couldn't figure, because I'm not from DC or anything like that. I'm trying to figure out why would you thank me for something like that? And eventually, when I got back to my Airbnb, I was like, oh my God, it's because I'm a white dude. I'm like a white dude that's not openly dysgenic or whatever, ugly, transmorgified by whatever's going on. So I look like somebody that you could safely confess that sort of thing to. And I got to see, I had that happen to me today again. When the news started breaking about what was going on with Charlie Kirk and everything. It's just a dude. He was looked like kind of like a libertarian left, kind of dude you see at cafes in New Orleans. And he was really broken up over it. And, at the time I was talking to my buddy Swampus, because Swampus works really close with him. I was like, yeah, not only it's my buddy over here is really torn up by it. And everybody in this cafe, one by one, they one by one started seeing what happened, and they were just extremely off put by it. And it continues to amaze me, the actual real turn that is occurring, in spite of tragedies like this. And they're certainly tragedies, but it's just one of the things you have to say, wow, the wheel actually is turning, and it's sort of incredible to see. Sorry, that was a lot at once.
No, it's still a very interesting point, though, Sam Batch.
Yes. I know Mr. Fahrenheit had said earlier not to use the word tragedy. He is certainly right about that. It is tragic, but a tragedy is a car accident. This is simply a terror attack. It's a terror attack designed to inspire fear and panic and hasty errors within all of us. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
This will not stop us. It won't cow us. We all know the stakes. We've known the stakes. Now they're highlighted. We're not going to go away. None of us are going to stop. Charlie Kirk wasn't even doing anything. He was in a debate club, That's and they killed him for it. They're going to try and do it again. It doesn't matter. The terror attack simply will not inspire the fear it's intended to. It's merely going to harden our resolve. As you described today, it's showing normal Americans what these people are like, and why we've committed ourselves to this, be it 10, 15 years, whatever. This is what we were all here to stop. We haven't stopped it yet. It needs to be stopped. The president needs to stop it. Today we mourn, tomorrow we need to see the lists. The arrests need to happen. It's time to stop playing games. Donald Trump must stop playing games with these people. If they can arrest, white nationalists or whatever, they can arrest the Black Lives Matter organizers, they can arrest Antifa, they can raid tomorrow. Enough is enough. Where is this going to go if that is not done? I think we all know the answer.
I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that this is like I was like, just fooling around with ChatGPT or whatever. And I asked it, I was like, okay, so give me, since 2010, a list of high profile political killings and then directional. So is it left on right or right on left and so on and so forth. And it gave me almost nothing but examples about the concrete examples it was able to come up with were almost nothing but left on right political violence. And then the contextualization it offered, it says, but studies show that the vast majority of political violence is right on left. It's like, okay, yeah, it's one of those things where there's this massive amount of lying that's going on. But truth tends to escape. And one of the things is that this is a characteristic of the left, this sort of violence. We harp on this all the time, that the right, whatever. Oh, you talk about, jokes. We really shouldn't joke, actually, because that sort of kind of desensitizes people to what actually happens when political violence occurs, because it's the left is extraordinarily violent. This is the way they behave. This is the way the left behaves in very specific instances. And like, I can only think of two real antecedents. And one is in the 1970s, whenever there was a dramatic rightward shift occurring in American culture. The sort of 60s, the hegemonic 60s leftist movement immediately turned violent. That's what they do. As long as things are going well for them, as long as the money printer is spewing forth, their subsidies for their community organizing and everything like that, they're relatively happy to take the moral high ground. But as soon as anything goes against them, they turn rabidly violent. And it was something the previous time they had done it was a much wider sort of panoramic, and that was in the turn of the 19th century, whenever really, the concepts of like socialism and Marxism and everything like that were actually on the decline, and because they had really swept through Europe in the later half of the 19th century, and then they were suddenly challenged by, at the time it was a re-emergent liberal order. But the left turned extremely violent then and started knocking off politicians. And one of the things is that this is it's a fault in their armor. It's actually a break in sort of leftist competency, because it doesn't work. People it's never worked. It didn't work. It really didn't work at all in the 1970s. They did a lot of violent things, and the result of it is the conservative shift in the Reagan Revolution. And in the 19th century, what it resulted in was really a sort of hard right, especially in the early 20th century, a hard right shift in the governance of Europe and in the United States. It doesn't work. And one of the things is whenever they open this sort of space, it's very important that, like, this is the time, if Donald Trump is going to act, he has to do it, because you can actually separate the left's funding from their more disgusting elements here. Because I mean, like, you can see around social media, the only people you see saying anything about this other than how horrified they are, and because they're so deranged, they don't realize what they're doing. People spewing forth like some of the most inhospitable language in the world. People see that and they don't want to be involved with it. So this is one of those times where, take note of that, highlight it, and really hope that Donald Trump has the wherewithal to do something here, because when they start getting violent, it's when like space opens between them and the source of their power, and you can drive a wedge in it right here. It's going to be a really hot 2 weeks on that front, I think, if Donald Trump knows what he's doing.
Yes, for decades, especially in the last 5 years, we've had a complete misapprehension of the historical moment by the establishment, quote unquote, right. As Sam Hyde said on Twitter, quote, "Time to do your fucking job and seize power. If you want to be more than a footnote in the American collapse section of future history books, it's now or never." At Real Donald Trump, JD Vance, Pete Hegseth. all of the rhetoric we've put forward, the endowments, the universities, it must be seized. It must be seized tomorrow. The arrest must happen tomorrow. The historical moment is here. The crown is in the gutter. The crown is in the gutter. Take the crown. Now is the moment.
When I said earlier that I didn't want anyone on this stream to use the word tragedy, Charlie, you articulated it properly. The reason that I did not want anyone to use that word is that this was a premeditated murder planned out with malicious intent, with active, conscious, malicious intent that was not only that half the country was not only complicit in, but actively aided and abetted and desires to see more of, right? This is, you cannot have a country like this. You are witnessing the breakdown of American society right now. What was it, like yesterday? It was yesterday or 2 days ago. The woman in Charlotte got stabbed, right? Prior to that, everyone points back to last year when Trump had a bullet, nick his ear. But, then there was the Democratic state senator in Minnesota who got whacked. And then there was like, you can connect these dots. Like this is not normal. This is not normal. This and with Charlie Kirk, again, I remember when he started, he did a very interesting rhetorical shift at some point in the last couple of years. He started talking a lot more about the intractable Anglo-Saxon values of the United States, right? And that is very hard signaling as far as the Conservative Party goes. And I remember making a sort of mental note when I saw it that I'm like, oh, this guy probably knows more than he lets on. And he's probably, shifting our way. And I remember that. And I used to be harsh on him prior to that. And I remember after that point, I eased up on him because I understood what it was he was doing. And I hope many of you had similar conclusions. But this is, I can't, I don't know how to articulate this without repeating what everyone else has already said, but this is Spain in the early 1930s. This is not the United States. This is not a healthy, functioning civil society. This is not a place where there is a loyal opposition and there is just an not even an ideological, a somewhat like method disagreement as to achieve different ends. This is not a country that you can live in, because this is not the end. This is a beginning. It's not even the first. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. The Catholic school that got shot up, I think last week, right? It's going to keep happening. And people are going to keep getting killed. And it's going to be people who look like us, who talk like us, who think like us. And why does the right not do anything? That's because the right can't do anything. We're not like the left. The left does this because they don't have any real regard for a concept of law, for a concept of inhibiting their actions, at least in a pro-social sense. And so the right, just temperamentally, the kinds of people who think the way we do, who have the priors we do, can't act this way. They need to have badges. They need to have state backing. They need to have something that makes what needs to be done legal. All right? That's what needs to happen, at least in today's day and age. And if that doesn't happen, and there's only one man in the entire United States right now who has the power to make that happen, and if it doesn't happen, then what are we going to do here? People are going to keep getting killed. Charlie Kirk, this took all of us by surprise. No, I don't think any of us woke up expecting this today. And what about tomorrow? And what about the next day? And what about the next month? And what about, the months leading up to the midterms? Is this going to be like Mexico where 80 something presidential candidates get assassinated? Is that what this is? Is the United States turning into a Latin American banana republic? Is that what we're turning into? Is that how politics is going to be? There's one way out of this. There is one way out of this. And we all know what that one way out of it is, but none of us have the power to affect it until it is affected.
We can demand it, though. And
yes, we can.
For Mr. Donald Trump, it is clear no one can possibly claim from this day forward that if he does not take action now, if not in the past, but at least now, all of these future deaths, the blood is on his hands. The blood is on the hands of our leaders, our governors, our earthly government, if they do not put an end to this tomorrow. The same can be said for priests, deacons, pastors, spiritual leaders of men. If you do not demand that what needs to be done by the president is done tomorrow, until it is accomplished, the blood is on your hands.
The justifications are there too. I spent some time looking at this today because, the United States is sort of bound in a strange way by not having most parliamentary government, even most democratic governments have a mechanism for the executive to the head of state to dissolve parliament and assume emergency power. We don't actually have that, but we do have a bevy of emergency acts and suites of very specifically applicable things that can be done. And I can't come up with any reason why, you can't make a legitimate argument, according to the 1807 Insurrection Act, that there are at least 3 active insurrections occurring in the United States. There are DAs refusing to prosecute crimes, as there are in my hometown of New Orleans. That's impeding constitutional rights of citizens. You have an archipelago of cities that have sanctuary laws passed that specifically impede federal officers from enforcing federal law. That's an insurrection. And then there is a decentralized wave of political violence that is very clearly targeting one specific political faction, which is that's a third insurrection. The president can assume very broad executive powers in the case of an actual domestic insurrection. And we have 3 of them right now. There's no real argument against that. And whenever I see people try to throw up arguments, this is just really okay. What you're actually looking at is that you're used to this thing that I call the 6th or the 7th party system, depending on how you look at it, when everybody kind of plays nice together. If you actually go back, Paul, if you go back into the American past, we actually have had periods that were this violent. The beginning of the 6th American party system. I can't hammer this hard enough. The political violence of the 1970s was incredible. Political violence in the 1920s and 30s, the Battle of Blair Mountain, that sort of thing was going on. If you go back further than that, 1877, there was a communist general strike. There were anarchist bombings in northern cities. The Haymarket bombing happened. If you go back 10 years before that, we fought a giant war with one another. So, these periods of relative domestic, non-tranquility have occurred. And in the past, I hate to say this, you got to do what Abraham Lincoln did. You got to do what FDR did. In peacetime, we hate these people, but if you're looking at the world right now, it's oh, okay, I can see exactly why they did that. All right, yeah, do it now, because this is absurd, and we don't look particularly good internationally at a very strange juncture in world history either. This is one of these things. The bleeding has to stop here, and so all of these things have to be put on the table, and justification for them totally exists.
Indeed, and I repeat. These actions must be taken tomorrow under the authority of the president. The blood is on his hands and the hands of all leaders of men who do not immediately call for the permanent resolution to this problem. We all know what the resolution is. I stated it. Seize the endowments, close the universities if necessary, arrest suspect men of the left, women of the left, transsexuals, whomever, under the necessary legal parameters. Do it tomorrow. Right now, apparently, there's another school shooting happening in Colorado. And of course, we're still reeling from the death of that Ukrainian woman. I haven't pronounced her name, so I won't try and butcher it, and I don't have it in front of me. But all of this blood is on our leaders' hands. If not already, which of course it is, starting today, if it is not done, you are complicit. All of you who do not insist that Donald Trump immediately put an end to this nonsense. If he does not, we all know where this is going. It is not going to stop. And every drop of blood spilled is on his hands and all of his cabinet if it is not immediately dealt with.
I mean, there's no way around it. The proper move right now is because the president can do this at any time. He can choose to give a report to Congress on the State of the Union. He should actually call one now and announce 3 domestic insurrections and assume broad executive power. That's the mechanism by which this should happen. I'm sorry, Pete.
Oh no, that's fine. A tweet I saw today that probably basically outlines the situation that we're in. And you really should understand how dire it is. It said that Charlie Kirk, the founder of TPUSA, had 2 missions. 1, encourage conservative students to use their voice. And 2, encourage all students to have open debate. And then he finishes it by saying, and the liberals killed him for it. No, the liberals didn't kill him. There are no liberals. The thinking that you can have, well, here, I'll say this. The thinking that you can have open debate with these people is liberal thinking. Okay? I'm not going to say it got him killed. Okay? But these people are not liberals. Get that through your fucking skull. That term has been used for all sorts of bullshit. These people call them Bolsheviks, call them Jacobins, call them whatever you want, but don't fucking call them liberals. I don't like liberals. I'm not a fan of liberals. But I mean, liberals are, terrible when they're in charge, but mostly harmless and just scream about their principles and yada yada, whatever. He was encouraging liberalism and they killed him for it. Stop calling these people. This isn't liberalism. The time for liberalism is dead. Stop it. This is something much different. That's why I tell people, stop reading theory and start reading history. So you can know exactly what we're going through, because a lot of people don't even know where the fuck we are at this point.
Precisely, Mr. Pete. I've just been reading up on the Napoleonic period in France recently. We're absolutely facing a Jacobin revolution, and much like in that time, they're in the government. We saw today the Republicans attempted to hold a mere moment of silence for Mr. Kirk, and the Democrats loudly protested out of order, all of them. We know who they're supporting. They're complicit in the crimes. These are criminals. The Democratic congressmen and women, all of them, should be arrested tomorrow by whatever law enforcement agency needs to be deployed to pursue that end. Arrest all of them. Arrest the governors. Enough is enough. Enough of our blood has been spilled in the streets by these animals.
And really, like, it cannot be overstated. I said it earlier, right? But it cannot be overstated that not only was the Democratic Party and all of its affiliates complicit in this, it actively aided and abetted by them. How many of you today saw the reaction from the DNC media mouthpieces? You know, one of them said that, oh, what if it was one of his supporters shooting off his gun? You know, when the House of Representatives attempted to call a moment of silence today, The Democratic Party screamed and shouted and booed and opposed it. How can you reason with these people? I'm serious. How can you reason with these people? If this is the attitude, if this is the behavior they're going to take in relation to a man with 2 children under the age of, I think, they were very young, 2 toddlers, basically, and a young wife, a man who was 31, just getting killed in cold blood. How? Again, I don't mean to have an overflow of pathos here. I don't mean to make this sound like this is just empty, vague, rhetorical appeals, but I'm at a loss. How do you do this? Because this isn't just, what is it? This isn't just a group of people or a faction, right? The entire DNC has their money-making apparatus based around this system that creates people who go to these rallies and shoot the other side. It's systemized. It is an economy. Whole sectors, whole demographics are employed by it, right?
They tried to label us over the several years, decades, some of us longer than others, have had to deal with being labeled as conspiracy theorists, unpatriotic, as part of some conspiracy against the state. We are in the midst of a vast conspiracy against the American state, and it is the left. It is the Democrats. It is the Jacobins. These are the people who are the enemies of the United States of America. Not people like us, not people like Charlie Kirk, not Donald Trump. Everyone needs to repeat this call. And I expect the other creators who, after today, the veil has been lifted. If not when Donald Trump, the attempt was made on his life. After today, no one like these idiots such as, Rand Paul, for example, can ignore and pretend not to see what is happening anymore. It's simply unacceptable. And those who do are complicit. Anyone who does not acknowledge what is happening and demand, especially those in positions of authority, demand the appropriate solution, and we've outlined what that is complicit. And they themselves should also be arrested and tried.
This is easily the highest level political assassination in my lifetime, easily, in the United States. I don't know, other people might disagree, might be a little bit older on here, but the time is absolutely now for the Trump team.
I think in my lifetime it's our Bud Dwyer, but go on.
Yeah. It's and you know what? Here's another thing as well with this. Charlie Kirk was a very close personal friend of Donald J. Trump and has been since 2016. You could talk about the political moment that we're in and everything like this, and all of that is extremely important. But honestly, one of the foundations of just being an honorable man is having care for your friends. I mean, if one of my friends had his neck blown out on live TV basically for the entire world to see, I can't even say what I would do on this stream to avenge him.
Well, by the same people that tried to do it to him last year,
Exactly.
The personal motivation is always the best, but it's the purest motivation. Yeah,
I'm going to say something. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
Oh no, that was it.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say something here that probably I'm completely wrong, but maybe the reason why Democrat politicians don't want to, or like, no, we're not having a moment of silence is maybe they're scared of what would happen if they don't put up, if they don't put up a fight when somebody recommends that. We may be at the point where the true lunatics are running the asylum, where to the point where these politicians are just there for show, and the left is being controlled by a much more wicked force. I mean, when you look at what the fucking world, what this country has come to, You would have to have your eyes closed to not believe that all of this isn't meant to be. The girl on the train, the Catholic school, what happened to Charlie Kirk. They want this. Somebody wants this. And I think if we say that it's the politicians who want this, we're giving them way too much credit, because they're being handled. Each one of them is being handled by somebody. So whoever is handling them, I say they want that. They want this. And these politicians may be just fucking scared because they see what these people are capable of.
You know, have any of you ever read Mystery Grove's work on the Russian Revolution and the Russian Civil War? Like just even a one-off, two-off article.
Well, no, but I'm pretty familiar with the event.
Yeah, that's kind of his whole thing. That's what if you actually like go and you read his Substack, like you read the articles, he'll take the time to write out, and he'll do scholarly book reviews similar to what we do on American Spirits. That's what he hyper focuses on, is the Russian Civil War. And I remember I was reading, Pete, you mentioned the Cheka earlier. I was reading one of his accounts of the Cheka in Ukraine, and there was an American Negro that was a part of it. There were Chinamen who were a part of it. But the most sadistic one was just some Russian woman that just got pleasure from watching people get skinned. You have to understand that
she wasn't Russian. I know who you're talking about.
Okay, fair enough. You know what?
She wasn't Russian. I wonder what she was. Geez.
You know what? Fair enough. Right. But the point stands, right? The point stands. Understand that we, as politically sophisticated people who have, I'm not saying we're academics. We're pretending to be intellectuals, but we have a somewhat well-developed theory of mind. We have a somewhat well-understood kind of canon of texts we're pulling from. We have a very similar set of ideological priors that with, of course, differences here and there on particular topics, but it's close enough for us to more or less function as a coherent group. And because we are, we have our own internal worldview. We try to make sure it's coherent. We try to reduce contradictions and paradoxes as much as possible. We try to be consistent. We try to be honest. We cannot understand how these people think and look at the world. This is not the high days of Marxist-Leninist dialectical materialism and, Bakunin and friggin', I could throw out a bunch of other ones of the anarchist movement, right? This is not the kind of pie in the sky, and also the dashing, daring, that was an era of intellectual sophistication, even amongst peasants, that does not exist today, right? These leftoids, these Bolsheviks, whatever anachronistic term you want to throw on them, right? Like race communists. I like that. I like race communists, right? That exactly says what it is. They do not have a sophisticated theory of mind. They do not have a sophisticated set of beliefs on the aggregate. It ultimately just boils down to Gibbs me dat and kill Whitey. And, and also some of them go a bit further than that. Some of them actively enjoy tearing apart families. Some of them actively enjoy robbing, wives of husbands and robbing children of fathers. They enjoy it. They like it. They think it's good. And ultimately, for and you can pull out the 2 or the 3 or the 4 idealists. You can pull those things out. You can parade them. You can look at all their ideas. You can look at their things that they've published, but they're exceptions. Ultimately, they're exceptions. And even back in the high intellectual period of the 1900s and the 1910s, when the anarchist movement and the socialist movement was kind of at its cultural height, right? Even back then, the rank and file, a lot of the time, they were just bandits. They were just guys who kind of wanted a veneer to, go rape people and murder and steal and just kind of live the life that they wanted to live, unrestricted by society and by laws. And it has not changed. It has not changed. And for the DNC, people are talking about how the woke is getting put away. And yes, the high cultural watermark of the woke has been broken. I don't think they're going to come back to the cultural power, at least. But that's why, as Sandy pointed out earlier, that's why they get violent. It's when the soft power goes away that the hard power goes out. And as their power decreases, they are only going to get nastier. They are only going to kill more people. What is it? The ICE agents. Remember when Antifa ambushed the ICE agents and could have killed something like 13 of them if they had chosen to open fire? Like, how many of these events do we have to remember over the course of this stream to realize that this is not how a country should be? And this can either end peacefully or it can end violently. I would much rather it end peacefully. People talk about civil war. I've talked about civil war before, but you know what a civil war is? It's a massive policy failure. That's what a civil war is. It's what a great power conflict is. It's what any kind of massive political cataclysm, a systems collapse, be it partial or total. All of that is policy failure, is failure of decision, is failure of accurately enacting and communicating a clear and coherent policy, not just to the government and to the agencies carrying it out, but to the people who you theoretically represent, whose interests that you theoretically further, right? So this is what needs to be understood. This is what needs to be understood. It will not end peacefully, but it doesn't necessarily have to end with the worst case scenario. All right. And I hope to God that someone competently handles this situation before it gets to the point where, frankly, there is no other alternative. Because that's happened before too.
Yes, for it could not possibly be more obvious at this moment why God spared Donald Trump's life. It could not possibly be more clear to him or anyone else. As we've iterated over and over on this stream, there's one man on the planet right now who can stop us from spiraling down into the situation you've outlined, in which case history shows us that we're looking at millions of people dead. Nobody wants that. We've basically... Last night we were joking with each other about how in a normal time, none of us would even know each other because we'd just be leading normal lives. Many of us here and people in the audience have more or less dedicated their entire adult lives and productive years and whatever we can do to try and prevent us from getting us to exactly where we are now. We don't have power. We just have voices. Our voices have yet to prevent what happened today from continuing. All we could do is hope and pray that someone up there hears what the American people are crying out for. Everyone, normal people, as Sandbach outlined, are tired of this. They will accept whatever the solution is to this. Yeah, that's all I had for that. Someone else take it.
This is I guess Mystery Grove's thing is the Russian Civil War, and my thing is the late 19th century and the early 20s. That's why I got asked on actually to talk about ideology, the deed, and I won't do it very much. I've already done quite a bit of it, but and this is just with respect to the entire historical moment. I'll give you a real quick lesson in Marxism real quick. So there was a thing called the Second International, and I think it was in 1885, and it was the International Congress of Marxism. The first International didn't hold, so they all have to get together and they have to do a second one, the Second International, and this is the period in socialist history where they were probably at their most prominent. Lenin was at the Second International, Bakunin was at the Second International, and there were three big factions. One of them were the reformists. One were the orthodox Marxists who, sort of came to the conclusion that revolution was inevitable through, immutable processes of history. And then there were the anarchists and the syndicalists. And they were, about seizing agency. And this is where ideology of the deed came from. Well, one of the reformist leaders was a Frenchman by the name of Edouard Juarez. And I can't pronounce French at all. But he advocated, essentially liberalism. The Marxist version of liberalism is that we're going to participate with liberal democratic parties, and we're going to work through the state for reform. And there's a section of a book that to me is just so blindingly relevant to where we stand right now, with the world on the edge of World War III, so on and so forth. And this is a section from a book written by Barbara Tuchman on the last.
Is it the Proud Tower?
It's from the Proud Tower. Of course, it's from the Proud Tower.
Is this the anarchist section?
It's the second anarchist section. There's two anarchist sections.
Yeah, it's the last. I haven't gotten there. I'm literally reading that right now.
Oh, nice. And I said, well, I'm going to read you the end real quick here, because this is about the death of a man named Eduard Juarez. And he was the leader of the socialist movement. He was the leader of the reformist socialist movement in France. And he's shot on July 31st of 1914. And I thought this today whenever I was watching the news. And this is how it goes. It says, the news licked through Paris like a flame. Crowds gathered so quickly in the street outside the restaurant that it took the police 15 minutes to open a passage for the ambulance. When the body was carried out, a great silence fell, and as the ambulance clanged away, escorted by policemen on bicycles, a sudden clamor arose as if to deny the fact of death. Juarez, Juarez, vive Juarez. Everywhere, people were stupefied, numb with sorrow. Many wept in the streets. My heart is breaking, said Anatole France, he's a famous novelist, when he heard. Informed at its night session by a white-faced aide, the cabinet was stunned and fearful. Visions rose of working-class riots and civil strife on the eve of war. The premier issued a public appeal for unity and calm. Troops were alerted, but the next morning in the national peril, there was only deep grief and deep quiet. At Carmou, the miners stopped work. They've cut down a mighty oak, said one. In Leipzig, a Spanish socialist student at the university wandered blindly through the streets for hours. Everything took on the color of blood, he said. The news of Juarez's death appeared in the papers on Saturday, August 1st. That afternoon, Germany and France mobilized. Before evening, groups of reservists carrying bundles and bouquets of flowers were marching off. It's dark. And then one more bit from another section of that book, or maybe this one's but this is the epigraph to my book that's coming out. And it's from another Barbara Tuchman book, and this one, and I hate to get a little narcissistic, but this is how I felt today. And I felt this way for a while, but it really, really slammed home to me today. And this is a quote from a Belgian poet by the name of Emile Verhaeren. And his book, The Blood of Belgium. And he says, the work of so many years is annihilated. The hopes of yesterday are dead. Nothing remains for us but to defend the honor of our people and to preserve with courage and patience what is left to us. Harsh. This is not a period of time that I'm happy that we seem to be repeating, but here we are.
Unbelievable synchronicity. I finished A Distant Mirror a couple of weeks ago, and I just started The Proud Tower. I'm still in the Hague chapter. I haven't gotten to the end, the socialist chapter you were talking about. But yeah, when I was listening to the Dreyfus Affair chapter in that same book, I was shocked by how similar to right-wing Twitter that the French magazine scene was.
Yeah. It's literally just Twitter. That's what it is. That's the best chapter, the one on the Dreyfus Affair. Actually, my favorite one is actually the one on German music. But yeah, I think you get that coming up soon.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I have to say about this. It's it's a political assassination. That's what it is. And we've seen a couple of them, even though they were leftists in Minnesota and everything. But when someone's willing to kill their own over disagreements, how much more their enemy? I mean, that's where we're at. You can just take a look at all of the violence. I mean, shooting today out in Colorado, everything that's happened this year, and if it's somebody on the right who does it, which is very rare, that's run with. But If it's, someone on the left, it's just, I mean, today excuses are being made. I mean, that's where we're at. I think when people, when I spend a lot of time, on the Bolsheviks or the Republicans and the communists and the anarchists in Spain, or someone like Abamel Guzman, I think people just think, well, why are you talking about that? Well, history doesn't repeat itself, but these people don't go away. So what do you think was going to happen? Things eventually get better. But that long period of things getting worse is a long, long period. And we're living through it. And even the youngest on this call is not going to see this get fixed in their lifetime. I mean, this is just a long, long fight. And, it's one of those days, too, that you have to realize that there's a lot of infighting going on, by people in our sphere. Now, I mean, there are some people who call themselves, quote unquote, dissident right, whatever that means anymore, who for obvious reasons, we don't want anything to do with. But there's a lot of people that we fight with over really petty shit. And if this doesn't convince you that you need to put your differences aside and just be like, hey, we have one enemy. There's one enemy out there. And if we can just do something about them, especially if you can do something locally or whatever, and you live over there, I live over here, we just respect each other. We may worship different gods, when it comes to the whole Christian pagan thing. And, I hate that kind of infighting, and I rarely ever bring it up except when I get attacked. But, someone like Clay Martin, I consider Clay Martin to be a friend, even though we don't agree on, on that thing. So a lot of people act like they need to gatekeep the fuck out of everybody for the tiniest little shit. And all that does is means that you're fighting people who you agree with 90%, while your enemy is cohesive and conspiring against you.
Yeah, oh, excuse me.
No, go ahead.
It really amazes me again, because I've been around. It's long, pretty much just like I think Pete has too, and you've both been around a long time. And again, I was put in kind of a senior role in one of the organizations that was around early on in the move, early on when the alt-right was a thing or whatever. And I was really too young for it. And like similar, Charles, all of us really were too young for it. Even Pete, I think, is a couple of years older than me. We've all been too young for this. We're all still too young for this, actually. But one of the things that's fascinating is that I've been able to see our Casa Nostra, our thing. I've been able to see it congeal. And then there are a number of times when it really should have fallen apart. After it should have fallen apart in 2018, whenever there was massive state repression, NGOs were operating against it. It very nearly died. And then COVID, of course, happened. And of course, COVID's bad, but it allowed a massive resurgence because it brought attention back to, again, true things were important again. So you have to go back and talk to the irascible people on Twitter. You have to go because we're too disagreeable to just go along with the crowd and, and pretend that something that's not true isn't true. Is true, but it should have gone away then, and it didn't. And then it sort of faded again, and then Donald Trump comes back. Somebody tries to kill Donald Trump, and we're back again. And then of course, over the course of this year, there's been lots of confusion, lots of misdirection, lots of not really sure what we're supposed to be doing. This is another one of those moments whenever I could see us all congealing again. Because again, this is one of those shocking moments whenever you have to look at what happened and appraise the situation and decide who your friends are. And like, this really should be, I've been concerned about this all year. It's like, where are we going? Where are we going? And, you know, this should be one of those wake up calls about, you know, it's like, where do you stand and who are you with? Because it looks like the world is ending right now. Like, you know, it looks like the world is ending. It's like, whose camp do you want to be in when the lights go out? And I think for a lot of us, that should be a much easier answer today than it was even yesterday, if you're having any sort of doubts or anything like that.
Correct. It's not just where we're going either. We're there now. The train has arrived, and you'd better know who your friends are at this point. Mr. Fahrenheit, I believe you wanted to say something, and then I think we should start getting to the super chats because there are quite a lot of them. Oh, sorry, you're on a call.
Yeah, sorry. Someone had something very important to tell me, but there is one thing I wanted to say right now before we go. Politicize this. Please politicize this. Politicize his death. Do what you have to do. Politicize it. If you don't politicize it, if all of you do not politicize this, then more deaths are going to happen. That's what I got.
On the same note of what Pete said earlier, I mean, they call all of us far right, fascists, Nazis, racists. All the terms they use to call each and every one of us are the same terms they use to call Charlie Kirk. Our enemies do not care. We are all the same to them. They want us all dead, and we have to win. Period.
Yes, well, with that, we'll be here for definitely a little while longer reading the super chats. Mr. Fahrenheit, can you check the GC, if you will? I'll post a message. Okay. Fortunately, StreamYards keeps a nice list of us for all the super chats. So I will start going through them one by one, and we'll comment on them. We'll probably be here a little while longer. First, we have our usual first, Mr. Solid Snake. Nice to see you again, sir, for $10. He says, "Evening, gents. Certainly a somber occasion. I pray the Lord grants his family peace. Feels like moderate conservatism was just ended. Only time will tell what happens, but I'm sure we all have an idea." Indeed, and yes, there's certainly no future for moderate conservatism at this point. We can only hope that this does not cut off an important connection between people who were so-called moderate conservatives and people who understand what time it is.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, make no mistake about it. Today was a huge blow for everyone in our thing. Absolutely. But it's incumbent on all of us to rally forth and push on. Like Charlie said at the very beginning of this, we cannot stop. We will not stop.
All right, I'll put this one on screen. I need to share a link here. From Manayut Sushi. Jeez.
I'll read it, Charlie. You can send the link.
Yeah.
Do what you gotta do. Whoops. Well, you gotta put it back on the screen for me to read. Hold on. There we go. This is the problem of streamers. So anyway, eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let the perpetual light shine upon them, and may the souls of all the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. Amen. Amen indeed.
All right, let me pull up the next one. Here's for $50, The Panther Awakens. You can take it.
Yeah, I'll take him. Panther Awakens for $50. Thank you very much, sir. It's important to remember that a distinction between left and right is that the right acts with discipline, honor, and professionalism. The left is violent and chaotic. The right is orderly. That being said, viva la muerte. That is certainly true. I mean, as much as all the calls from everybody on Twitter today saying that the moderate right, the conservative right, the normal, whatever you want to say, died today, it is extremely important to remember that we are not leftists. We're not anarchists. We do not advocate for people just randomly doing violence wantonly in the middle of the street without, any rhyme or reason to it whatsoever. That is not what we are. That is not who we are. We are tactical. We are honorable, and we are disciplined people. It's not to say that we're just gonna like lean over and roll over and take it and all that shit. None of us are saying that, but no, do not stoop to the level of random wanton attacks of terrorism. No.
Yeah, discipline's the important thing. Discipline is the difference between us and them, and it's incredibly important to say because, there have been at times where the right has tended to want to hide. And then I always look back at that movie Gone with the Wind, and I look at Ashley, what's his face, and because all the women that float through my life eventually decide whether or not I'm Red or Ashley. And I will leave that question open to the ladies of Twitter. But I will also say, that what is considered, we must always have discipline, but what is considered honorable and professional is entirely historically contingent, and it is no longer 10 years ago.
Here.
No, 100%. We're going to win. We're going to win legally. We're going to remain disciplined. We're not going to lose our cool. We're angry. We can be angry. But this is not going to disturb our temperament. We have Fritz Imperial, old timer here. Thank you for the $5. Rest in peace, Charlie. Pray for him. Pray for justice. Someone pronounce the German, please.
You got me.
Fine.
Something like Ordnung Muschschein. Something like that. I don't know.
Thank you. Mando Spam. With Charlie, $10. Thank you. With Charlie's accomplishments throughout the years, I can presume that he is resting quite peacefully, even if we didn't agree on everything he had to say. Yes, well, certainly none of us will ever say anything negative about him ever again. He has earned his place as a martyr in the history books that we will be writing.
Yeah, he's absolutely part of our thing. He's a part of our lore, our canon. Totally. This is just unquestionable at this point.
All right, we actually have another guest joining us. He's a consultant. I'll let him say more if he likes, but I will add him to the stage now and hand him the mic. Hello, sir.
How are we doing, everyone? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. I love what you boys do at the Old Glories Club. I haven't followed it too closely, but I've been seeing what you guys do on Twitter. A lot of people in, let's say the administration and around the GOP see it as well. And believe me, a lot of people are very, very, very big fans. Now, I'm sure as you can imagine, today's a busy day for everybody over here in DC. But what I want to say is that these people are going to feel the full brunt of the United States government, of the Department of Justice, and of U.S. law enforcement. This is not an isolated incident. This isn't a Luigi Mangione. It isn't a simple murder, and it's not random. We know that this is political, and it's something that necessarily needs to be politicized. The solution going forward, and the solution that I would like to see the Trump administration take, and that I hope that they do take, is that we need to crack down on the institutional nature of left-wing and democratic organizations. They are borderline terrorists, if not terrorists in reality. We see money flowing formally from USAID and from the federal government into these quote-unquote NGOs. We see it running through Black Lives Matter, through Antifa. We see these patronage networks that fund violent extremists day in and day out. And ultimately, you have the high-ranking operatives like Will Stancil, like Evan Loves Wharf, and tons of other posters on Twitter and on Blue Sky and on Reddit. They call people Nazis. They call us fascists. They call us threats to democracy. And the results? We see things like Mangione shooting CEOs in New York City. We see people like Thomas Crooks trying to assassinate the president of the United States on the campaign trail. Twice we saw that, at least. We see murders that took place today like those of Charlie Kirk, and it's going to keep happening day and day again. And the high-ranking operatives in the DNC and the other guys in Antifa and in BLM and in the rest of these patriot networks, they call us these things because they know and they hope and they pray and they wish that somebody deranged enough among their ranks will take up arms and fire a bullet. That is the strategy. It always has been, and it continuously will be. And it won't end unless these people are dealt with the full force of the law. That means we need to see indictments. We need to see prosecutions. We need to see arrests. We need to see groups like BLM and Antifa being designated as terrorist organizations, because that is precisely what they are insofar as they're counseling violence and they're advocating for violence, whether literally or not. That the job of every single Republican voter, of every single American patriot, of every poster on X is to pressure their elected officials, their congressmen, their senators, their state legislators. Pressure these people, write to them, at them, go into their replies, tell everybody and emphasize this violence and politicize it and tell everybody the violence must be dealt with. And the only way to do that is no more debates, and certainly not criminal action on our side. If anybody's thinking of that, that's definitely not the way we want to go. Urge your elected officials to crack down on violent left-wing organizations with the use of the law. Your sheriff's department, the FBI, state police, your local police department. Send in tips. Take screenshots when you see leftists Fed posting on X and Reddit and Blue Sky. Tell people that they're making threats. I want to also bring everybody's attention to a new website that some patriots put up. It's called charliesmurderers.com. It seems that these guys are collecting a catalog or an archive of every doxed individual that's advocating for violence or celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. These people need to be identified, they need to be made famous, and they need to be shamed. They need to be made ignominious. Take screenshots, identify people, send in their full names, their employers, and their location, and shame them. We cannot tolerate this anymore. The Trump administration will do everything it can to prevent us from devolving into chaos and civil war. But I got to tell you guys, that may be where we're going because of what the left has done here. Today was a Rubicon moment, and it wasn't us that crossed that river. It was the left. It was the transgender school shooters murdering innocent Christian children. It was Luigi Mangione. It was Will Stancil. It's the Cory Bookers and the Van Jones and the Kamala Harrises that can't stop yelling about threats to democracy and fascism, hyperbolizing. No, it's these people. These people are the ones that are responsible for today's violence and any further bloodshed that comes from it. Report to law enforcement, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on. I have one question for you, Mr. Offman. It's just your general opinion. This is something that's been burning me, and I really want to know what you think about this, right? But do you think that the Trump administration understands this current juncture in history from how you see it? Do you think that they are aware of the moment and the power that they have in this present moment?
I absolutely think that at this point, well, I'll say this. We know for a fact that everybody in the administration is wired in to Twitter. They're wired in to X. We know that chipping out works. We know that when there's a big issue, things like this get seen. We saw it happen with the H-1B Christmas war. We saw it with illegal immunity for illegal migrants at the farms. We see it everywhere. When Twitter gets angry, the Trump administration sees it, and there are a lot of people that are wired in there. Now, let me explain how decisions in the administration work. the president has very limited access to what we see on social media and the news. He has a principal secretary, it's Will Scharf, who effectively chooses what the president reads out of that day, what news articles he sees, what events are on the president's mind. Now, when that happens, a debate effectively ensues amongst various staffers at perhaps senior or junior levels, depending how magnitudinal it is. And really, the president's choice boils down not necessarily to his own judgment, but who wins that debate in the president's eyes. And inevitably, when you have people like Stephen Miller, people like Tooley and a bunch of other guys in the administration that follow our guys on X, a lot of what we have, a lot of the momentum we see on X filters into President Trump's decisions. Now, is the administration aware of the power it has in this particular moment? I think so, yeah. I think that we realize, in fact, I think they've been aware of it even since before today. I think that the last 2 days since the Irina Zarutska news dropped, I think since then the administration has been aware of what it's had. We've been aware that the crown is in the gutter and somebody needs to pick it up. We've been aware that American life cannot continue on this way and that we are at a turning point in history. Ultimately, the left made a grave mistake with what they did today. They made a grave mistake with mandating body cams on police officers because all they've done is expose their insanity to the mainstream voter. The coddled family living in a mansion in New England, all the way to the middle-class suburbs of Indiana. Americans and the American people see what's going on, and the Trump administration knows what it can do right now. It knows what the American people are thirsting for. Now, ultimately, a course of action necessitates quite a bit of prudence, and I imagine they're not going to act hastily. But believe me, the White House is deliberating on these matters right now. And we will see some action soon. The DOJ will get involved, and President Trump will prevent, to the best of his ability, the devolution of American life into civil war and anti-civilizational anarchy.
Well, thank you for giving us your input on what you regard the administration's angle as being. I'm looking on Twitter. It looks like Kash Patel has announced that the second suspect after interrogation has been released. So it appears that the suspect is still at large. Certainly the worst case scenario in terms of the immediate case would be for this guy to get away. I cannot imagine how that could happen given the security state we live in. So hopefully we have a swift resolution, at least to the immediate prosecution of justice in this case.
I mean, that was a pro job. It's going to take a couple of days. I mean, they'll get catch him, but that was a pro job. Like one shot.
I don't have any concerns that
maybe
the perpetrator won't be caught. I think that I think if anything, in a worst case scenario, we're gonna have to deal with a suicide or perhaps a death by police, a shootout. Hopefully, that's not the case. I would love to see this person apprehended alive. I'd want to see them interrogated. I'd want them to be paraded in front of the nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's read a few more supers to.
Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you having me on. You guys have a nice day, and I really appreciate the work you Patriots are doing.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
very much.
Thank you, boys. I'll see you around.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right.
Next time I'm on a stream with that guy, when he comes in, I want Ric Flair's walkout music to play.
I like his energy.
Unfortunately, we were on StreamYard today and don't have the usual bells and whistles.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But we'll cue that up for next time. All right, where were we? Star Wars name again. It says when we win, we will build a statue of Charlie Kirk in DC. Absolutely, he deserves one.
It's gonna go right over Martin Luther King's.
Nick asked $5. Kirk represented the American belief that the better argument would win. The day that I grew up with, this is how democracy works. That is what he, as we know, the better argument doesn't win. He continues, the belief in this tradition may die today with Charlie, even though I thought I discarded this ideal a long time ago. I still feel it's lost bitterly. The loss of innocence. Absolutely. Sometimes, Sometimes we post crazy stuff on Twitter, but the reality is nobody wants this. We just want to live in a normal country.
Yeah.
That's all we want. That's why we're doing this.
The normal chat over here, the non-super chat, just really killed it. It is Nylon Riot says, I like the idea of naming a college. It's like, yeah, if we're going to name it's going to be the Charlie Kirk School of Classical Liberalism at Harvard University.
Well, you know, what's funny, I remember I saw this on the Associated Press today, was that Dartmouth, of all places, was like demanding that Charlie Kirk come there. They apparently, a bunch of students at Dartmouth wanted Kirk to go there. Dartmouth is the cool Ivy no one knows about.
It's just
Dartmouth is the one I wanted to go to, and they didn't let me in. So, and they made an enemy for life. You know, so I'm about it.
All right, herb seasoning for 2112. What a strange number. We are all Charlie Kirk, praying for his young family, praying for us all. This is one of those days that we define life and history as before and after. Indeed,
you could say that
it is a turning point.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
it is
totally.
a turning point.
Especially after
we feel it in our bones.
You just felt the match was struck on this powder keg weeks ago with this domino effect of things that have been happening, whether it's the Catholic Church shooting, the stabbing of this poor Ukrainian woman, and now this Charlie Kirk assassination. I mean, it just cannot be said enough, and we've been stressing it all night. Right now, we will be continuing to do so. It's the time is now. I mean, this is your opportunity more than anything else. The most public political assassination in decades in the United States of America. This is not something that the American people want to see. This is not something that they want to have happen. They want it to be safe to use their public transportation. They want it to be safe to even communicate on college campuses. Mr. President and the whole team, it is time now.
All right. Now we have Portler for $99.99. Very generous. Thank you very much. By all that you hold dear on this good earth, I bid you stand, men of the West. Well, we are standing. We're never going to back down. It's not in our blood. It is in our blood to resist this chaos and evil to the very end, as Mr. Kirk did, and as we will do to honor his memory, and all of the other people who have been mentioned, and some who have not been, who have fallen in this chaotic, absurd war we find ourselves in. Paul W. Hall for $9.99. I hope to see you perhaps on D Space tonight. By God, we'll have our home again. By God, we will have our home. Politically Catholic for $4.99. If the left will kill you for taking the moderate position, then you might as well take the extreme one. Millions of Francos were born today. Well, I think a lot of people have figured that out today, Mr. Politically Catholic. Omanis for $99.99. Advice for getting involved, given this position we're in. Great points as always. We have the freedom to do what is necessary or to do nothing at all. More Latin. Mr. Sandbach, you can pronounce Latin correctly, right? Do you want to give that a go?
Which one? Ducunt volentem huata nolentem tracum.
There we go.
I got that one right. Somebody gave me a B. Somebody gave me a B for effort on the German. At least I tried. Yeah, this one I know this one.
Well, how to get involved. Red Hawk, do you want to take that?
I mean, how you get involved. I mean, with the stuff that we are doing, head on over to the oldgloriclub.com and get involved in your local chapters. For the broader movement as a whole, there's a million and one things you could do. Start locally, get involved in your, here's another thing as well. If you're a young guy, go join your local TP USA. I can imagine that they are really going to be struggling and hurting after something like this, man. Well, there are a million and one ways you can get involved. Nobody has an excuse to just be laying on their ass anymore like this. I mean, a lot of people took the opportunity to do so after Donald Trump's victory last November. You know, it's like, oh, okay, we won. Now I can just like relax. The political season is over. No. Blood has been spilled. Get out there.
Indeed, we like TPUSA. I believe some of us have met a few of their people.
Yeah.
They're good people. It's absolutely a good organization to join. There's no reason you have to only be in one organization or anything like that. There's plenty you can do. And like I said earlier, you better be sure who your friends are at this point. If you're not, then that problem needs to be rectified. And there are any number of organizations you can join to do that. Barney Boyle, nice clippy there. Check out Louis Rossman's channel if you don't know what the clippies are about. The source for claims of right-wing violence is the SPLC, and their parameters are a fucking joke. They file a bar fight between two brothers as right-wing violence if one of them is a Dixie flag. That too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the point I was making earlier. You know, they claim we're the bad guys. We're not the bad guys here. We all know who are. $5 from Based Hill Billy. Other than Tucker, Charlie was the most wholesome guy. In every clip, he was gracious and building a bridge with his opponent. Yeah, well, that's why, as our guest earlier said, the left really made a mistake here. This was a massive mistake. They could not possibly have done a dirtier deed in terms of undermining themselves. If there was anyone who was absolutely a stand-up person with a lovely family, it was Charlie Kirk.
You know what? Like, is our friend Elliot Hacker has been keeping me. He was really affected, I think, somewhat today, and he's been keeping me up to date with the responses to the most important demographic in America: white women aged 25 to 45, and their response to the leftist hatred that's been posted all over Charlie Kirk's poor wife's. And so they're not. It's affecting them badly. But oh my God, Semiagog says my Latin pronunciation sucks because he learned Latin like a German. But anyway, I think it's really important to point that out, that there are optics happening all over the place right now, and the dialectics are in motion. I mean, it's such a mistake. This is that leftist short time, no time preference. They just chimp. All of them chimp. They all chimp. And this is when they make their mistake. The Achilles heel is exposed right now.
If any of you were worried that the woman who got stabbed in Charlotte would be forgotten by Charlie Kirk, don't worry. This is basically there was a little brush fire happening, and then someone dunked an oil tanker on it. It's taking out the metaphor, like the oil would probably put out the small little fire instead of I understand, but but ultimately, don't read too much into the metaphor. This is they've doubled down, and now they've made this a permanent issue.
Absolutely. That girl is not going to be forgotten. This isn't just, the next thing in the narrative being swapped out. That is not what's happening here. As far as pie here for $2, Trump won't grab the crown. It's a shame. Well, from what we heard earlier, we need to be pushing for it. Obviously, we know it's not going to happen tomorrow. We're calling for it tomorrow. We have to keep calling for it tomorrow. Every day is too late. We will see. All we could do is use our voices to the best effort. Stay calm, stay cool, stay collected. Keep your eyes on the prize. Know your friends. Nomad from the other side of the pond. Stay safe all for $3.70 squigglies. Yeah, it's a pound, I know. Thank you, Nomad, for the well wishes. Frederick Barber.
I saw Froggy was in the chat earlier.
He was. It was nice to hear from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's up to.
Yeah, a lot of old heads are around tonight.
Well, Frederick Barbarossa for $5. Trump must cross the Rubicon from Brazil with love and prayers for Kirk. Indeed, it is the left who has crossed the Rubicon today, and the correct response must be made in response to that. As we said, politically Catholic again for $1.99. Today we pray, tomorrow we chimp. Absolutely. Tactical chimp outs on Twitter. We know the administration responds. We know they do this. We have got to keep pushing. In the next 72 hours especially, this is the critical time. This is the turning point. Alexander Hale for $9.99. God bless Charlie Kirk and all he has done. Thank you very much, Mr. Hale, for your contribution, and indeed, God bless him. Solid Snake for $2. I think you're right, Pete. Well, Pete's always right. We don't know the context, but it doesn't matter. Pete's always right. Dan Given for $50. Go ahead.
Don't put that on me.
Dan given for $50. No comment, but thank you much for your donation. And again, Brian Kim. Hopefully these weren't lost because there's a bunch without donations. Brian Kim for $10. Thank you. Blood Based for $49.99. Thank you very much. Very generous guys tonight. City Break Dancer Man. City Break Dancer Man for $5. I love that one.
Guys, a common super chatter on our channel. Yeah, very funny.
Enrico Palazzo, $50. Thank you very much. In remembrance of a good man who loved his country and his family, God bless you all. He absolutely will be remembered. We can be sure of that. This moment won't be forgotten, and we can only pray that this is the moment that the Trump administration finally takes action. Vulpus Persona for $50. Very routine super chatter. Thank you very much for sending us this tonight. And our own Raging Mandrill for $9.99. Don't forget about the Las Vegas shooting and congressional baseball game in 2017. There has been constant political violence in this country during Trump's presidency. Absolutely. Of course, the left they're going to blame Trump for it, right? We all know where it's coming from. They've been doing this kind of violence for years. Far too much blood has been spilled. My own former state congressman or senator, I believe, was shot and lost some of his intestinal functions. Steve Scalise, that was his name. Yes.
Oh, proud graduate of Brother Martin High School. You know.
Marco's $5.88 for $7.99 Australian dollars, I think. Actually, I appreciate this is OGC, but I see Charlie Redhawk and Paul Fahrenheit all shooting fire here, and it feels incomplete without our favorite Aussie. Yeah, I did talk to Marcus Furious Pertinax a few days ago on my channel, Charlemagne, so he's doing well. He's still around. He's a farmer, guys, so he has work to do with his hands. TK for $10. The fact that both my bosses were losing their shit when the news hit makes me never want to leave my company. Godspeed, OGC. That's good to hear. We've all heard this story a lot today. The normies are losing their shit. They see what's happening. The veil's been lifted on what the left, the Jacobins, really are. Again, these aren't liberals anymore.
And they saw the clip was just everywhere, and I imagine it was just so unbelievably graphic. I mean, it's on levels with the JFK assassination levels of graphic, and everyone was just shown it wherever they look.
And you must watch it. I didn't watch the video of the Ukrainian girl being stabbed. It's simply too dark. In this case, though, when a comrade falls and his blood is spilled, you watch it over and over again. You burn it into your memory. That's what you do. He in his own way was fighting the same battle all of us are. You need to see it.
Well, hold on. I have to interject. Well, Breezy over here says they've been spilling the same blood since the English Civil War. I just should point out that is not the case. This is a totally different thing. There are Puritans that are doing political violence, and in fact, actually, the location, all of the other people that were in the crowd, they were much closer to Puritans than the person who shot that man. This is totally different. This is a totally different thing.
Absolutely, and check out our Monday show, American Spirits, on this channel if you want to understand the Puritans and how they fit into the context of American history. CJL for $4.99. We don't fear them. We fear rebuking God. They simply don't understand. Absolutely. I'm not afraid to die. None of us are. We fear our final judgment, and that's it. But we certainly don't fear these evil human beings, no matter what they do. Michael DeRobio for $20. For unity on our side, are we all the heirs of Greece, Rome, and Christendom? Is that the thread that ties us together and makes us the natural opposition for the leftists? Or am I just sentimental about Rome, East and West? I mean, Rome and Greece are very far removed from us. I try to not make too many analogies to that. Christendom, absolutely. We're not just the heirs of Christendom. We are Christendom. Christendom has not died. Its fire still burns. And God be with President Trump, it will burn bright again. Paladin YYZ for $120. Thank you very much, sir. This isn't about politics. This isn't about a content creator. This isn't about a Twitter celeb. They shot a good guy, a Christian husband with 2 kids, just to show that they can. Don't let this guy get washed away in the next news cycle. You're absolutely right. Like we said earlier, I mean, Charlie Kirk was just... They couldn't have picked a more upstanding, likable man to assassinate so ruthlessly, and they will absolutely regret it. This is not going to be another news cycle. I think we all recognize that. Canadian dollars, $6.99 from John D. Second drink griper. I love it.
Damn. Damn.
Well, we will be continuing this to Mr. D's Twitter space tonight, so I'm sure John D's Second drink griper will be in the audience.
Remember, he would have wanted us to make this political. Absolutely. He tweeted literally today that we need to make the Ukrainian girl's death political. That's what we have to do. It's political. He wants it. Make it political. Right. Do not. Yeah.
We need to watch out for I imagine David French and all of his ilk are writing up articles right now saying something to the degree of, Charlie Kirk was such a, instigator of left-wingers and yada, yada, yada. And the right needs to just take the high road on this one. And he wouldn't want us to politicize his death. We just need to take a moment and pray. It's just, no. Cannot let this continue.
No, he was a soldier. He died in battle, and you would not want your fellow men to simply get all wishy-washy over it. No.
It's probably another important thing as well for I don't know the structure of what Turning Point USA is going to look like after Kirk's passing. I mean, I would suspect that place is going to be ripe for infiltration from our enemies in the wake of this. So if you are a member there, or somebody who is sympathetic to more people like us, I would definitely try your absolute damnedest to make sure that organization does not get subverted. I mean, Kirk founded it himself. I have no idea what the structure is going to be like now in the wake of this horrible murder, but something to keep an eye out for.
RMC McNabb for $10. Calls back Je suis Charlie. Yes. Well, that's a great callback, and
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
we could revive that.
We could revive that. That's pretty clever, actually. Jay Smith for $10. This has the potential to be the Wilhelm Gustloff moment of our time. How the following days proceed will be telling. Indeed, the response to the administration to this is going to be very telling. Hopefully, we see something good. Definitely keep following what Kash Patel is posting on Twitter, because he does seem to be providing live updates. I know he's not popular, but he is the best source of information right now on what's happening with who they're nabbing. I think they will nab the shooter. I mean, there's so many cameras on a university. I don't see how he's going to get away.
If this wasn't so somber, it would have been a perfect spot for a train horn right there.
Adam Keeney for $10. All enemies, foreign and domestic, indeed, and far too many of them are domestic these days.
Oh yeah, that's something that I was thinking about this afternoon. I wanted to just bring up. We've really been socially engineered into only thinking about the enemy foreign. We have Putin. We have all of these. No, I mean, how can we even? Unless it's an imminent threat from the outside, how can we begin to prioritize the enemy foreign over the enemy domestic when there are so many here? When they become dug in like ticks for 80 years, 100 years, we have to prioritize. We have to learn to prioritize, especially in our own minds, who the enemy is. And so much of the enemy is here. And yes, there is a foreign enemy that we have that is embedded here, but we need to think about the enemy here. a whole lot more than we think about some existential threat from the outside that we don't even know if it's real or not.
I've sworn the oath in which that is the sentence. I've sworn that oath, I think, 7 times, 7 different times.
All right. Can one of you guys take the next one while I take a quick break?
Yeah, I got you. Serbian Cat for $20, frequent super chatter on the channel. Genuinely saddened by this. Just came back home from a wedding where the couple met at a TPUSA conference. Really? That must be so horrible. I may have disagreed with Charlie, but I will always be grateful for the friends that he gave me via his club. Yes, absolutely.
That's the thing with this, right? Is it's like I don't think any of us are pretending for a second that we were like that Charlie and us were necessarily on the same ideological wavelength, but he was like maybe 2 ratchets away from us, Auron being the one, right? Like he was, at least as far as the enemy was concerned, they couldn't differentiate between him and us. I was talking to my former leftist wife this morning, and she said that, leftists thought he was an extremist. Leftists thought he was an outright Nazi. And that's the thing.
According to MSNBC, this is like the furthest right guy in the country.
Yeah, it's they have no clue.
You know my boomer Putin, like sort of golem that I keep around. He's been absolutely ecstatic all day because the leader of our movement has been exterminated. I'm like, all right, big guy. Like, is it are the Nazis in the room with this right now? Show me on the doll where Charlie Kirk touched you.
I mean, there definitely is a point to be made, and many people said this on Twitter. Is it's like they really shot and killed the last guy who really thought that communicating with leftists could be
right. Oh, God bless Dave Green. I watch out for Dave. Like,
really.
But it's like, you think this is what are you going to do with Nick Fuentes? It's like a literal I am Spartacus moment. It's like we actually don't have leaders. We all agree with one another. It's like this is like a spontaneous. This is actually like the way we're actually organized. And I would like tell you all, any leftists listening, we're actually organized the way you all used to talk about in the 1960s. It's sporadic. It's decentralized and ground up. We don't have leaders. Well, we did the thing you couldn't do.
Let's see. Brandon Schill for $5. March together. Remember that marching has a certain organized aspect. Yeah, as I said, know who your friends are. $2 from Christopher Burks. A salute. Thank you, sir. $5 from the other Paul. Elon Musk must be pressured to pass an exemption to anti-doxing policy on X. Celebrating excusing Kirk's murder. Should forfeit any right to privacy. Well, we received the link. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I've seen people starting to do this, and we have the website. I linked it in chat earlier. It was what was it called?
Charlie's Murderers.
Yes, I will link. I think I still have it on my clipboard. I do. I'll link it in chat again. charliesmurderers.com.
Was it like? It turns out doxing people is in and of itself not necessarily bad as a form, right? It just turns out if you're using it to like put like absolutely horrible people who dance on the graves and celebrate political assassinations, if you use doxing to put them in jail instead of, getting just normal, upstanding, socially pro-social people who want to improve society, instead of getting them fired and blacklisted from it, it turns out doxing can actually be very effective and can be used to do a great deal of justice.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, we've all seen these instances where, they dox us, you report it, nothing's ever done. It's just allowed forever. The left is just allowed to dox people as much as they want on Twitter. And yeah, I mean, it's Musk is another one of the people we haven't mentioned up until now, but he absolutely, he's in a position as well to take point on this, and blood is also in his hands if he doesn't. Yeah. Let's see. Darby DZ for 20 Canadian dollars. It would be really good to hear that Eric Prince is being flown to the White House tonight. R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, a great patriot. Yes, that is absolutely a person who should be involved with the response here.
Absolutely. Call up Bukele too.
Nuclear Caudillo for $5.01. You guys love your weird numbers. Showing my support for Mr. Red Hawk and his crew. Thank you, Mr. Caudillo.
Yeah, the $5.01 super chat is some deep lore in the
Okay.
in the Manosphere community. But thank you, Nuke, and you and Hannah stay safe.
We need a 5150 number too, which is like the California code for an e-girl going crazy.
Yeah, 5152
morning.
Well, we had the 2112 earlier, and no one got the Rush reference there. I guess
I was about to say something, Pete, but I think I've raised enough cane on your stream about Rush to last a lifetime.
Okay.
Might be. I'm not enough of a music connoisseur to know that one.
Well, I'm not
Paul
either. I just
Allen.
like Rush.
For $20, I feel nothing but sadness about this. Someone who is not only a friend to us, but also just a decent, normal man killed for what? I struggle to even be political about this. Such despair. Member of Peninsular Vanguard. Very happy to hear you're in a chapter. People, you should be joining and founding OGC chapters. If this incident is not your notification to be doing that, then I don't know what is. And if not OGC, anything. Turning Point USA, join it, join something. But we mustn't despair. We're at least getting in some moments of levity now. This is somber, but our spirit will not be crushed. Drew for $10. Just wanted to thank my good friend Red Hawk for all the work you do. More people see you than you realize. That does seem to be the case, and I hope it is.
Hear, hear.
Lord Inquisitor Ahashian. Is that a 40K thing? Stay safe and Godspeed, gentlemen. We will win. Salute. Darby DZ again for another $20. Yeah, I saw this on Twitter. There will be a vigil for Charlie Kirk at St. Joseph's on Capitol Hill with Father Gurney at 7 p.m. this evening. Please consider if you are in the DC area. Yes, please consider. And frankly, you guys should get in touch with law enforcement and ensure there's security there. El Templar, $5. Don't stop. We won't stop. Also, sorry for being mean to you in DMs. I hope you just. I was just joking with you. King Pill for $10. May Chuck Dirk's memory be eternal. God bless you guys. Thank you very much, King Pill.
I think he was trying to say Chud Kirk or something.
Yes, Chud Kirk. Absolutely, he is an eternal MAGA Chud saint. From here on out, his memory will not be forgotten. Cordy ZZ7 for $5 Canadian.
This is another guy who was in AA's chat for years.
MAGA has its chimps as well. The chimps are just used by a strong sovereign to gain mandate. Apes together strong, strength and honor. Yes, monkey together strong. We are one monkey. Kachuk for $10. A family member of mine was a police officer who was ambushed and killed while eating lunch almost 6 weeks ago. His name is Philip Wagner. This is only accelerating, gentlemen. Yeah, that's really grim to hear, and I'm sure there are probably. I mean, there's got to be so many more cases like this that we're not even hearing about. I mean, just look at how much we talked about tonight in terms of the immediate political violence that's been done against our people just in the last 2 weeks. Multiple mass shootings. The Ukrainian girl, Charlie Kirk. It's only accelerating, and it has to be. We have to stop it now.
That point about it being censored, you're 100% right. I mean, just look, for example, the case of the Ukrainian girl that happened on August 22nd, and it just started breaking just a couple days ago. There was such an attempt to censor that, prevent any of the footage from being released or the story from breaking from those evil people involved in North Carolina. You're totally right.
Wow, I didn't even realize it was that long ago. So yeah, that just highlights the censorship. Bulba Inquisition for $20. If this connection to Utah Antifa is going to be, it's going to be a long time before they catch him, her, or it. The Utah left-wing radicals have cut their teeth fighting a low-grade war against the Mormon Church for a couple years. Interesting. I do not know much about this. We can hope that the FBI is competent and can. I mean, look. Just arrest all of them, for God's sake. I mean, it's just cut and dry. _ Wow. for $5. We need to disregard the ideal of Fed infiltration from now on. Being organized and infiltrated is better than being disorganized and atomized. Well, this is certainly something that just cannot, you cannot allow fear to stop you from finding your friends. And we'll just leave it at that. You cannot allow your fear to stop you from knowing who your friends are. And that goes for people in other countries too. Marcos $5.88 for $7.99, I guess Australian dollars. Disagreements aside, and as misguided as he might have been ideologically, Kirk was true to his convictions. He was a good man and didn't deserve this. Well, he went on a very interesting journey, and I think a lot of people who followed Charlie Kirk's career, especially the last year, have massively increased their respect for him.
I certainly have.
And yeah, he really went on a journey. I didn't realize he was so young. And no, he was a great man. And, his life was, he could have been one of us. Any one of us, could have taken that bullet.
I think in the past few months, particularly, especially, people should go and listen to his appearance on Tucker Carlson just within the last month. The man definitely had his finger on the pulse, especially the way that the young conservatives and the young right were moving in this country. And he went on Tucker's show and was intentionally speaking to a boomer audience, basically telling everybody, like, hey, listen, like, the young guys in this country are extremely more radical than you think they are, and they have every right to be. And yes, I think a lot of people had opinions on him back in, the 2018, 2019, Pat Casey days and everything. And that's fine. We can criticize him for that. But the man clearly was moving way more in our direction at a record pace. Especially when you look at his Twitter account over the last week or so, the stuff that he was saying could have come out of any of our mouths.
But the thing I've never hated Charlie Kirk, because I've always, first of all, because I met two smoking hot women whenever I met him, and that always helped my opinion about somebody, you know what I mean? But I've never really had an issue with him because, like, he was always like a really good bellwether for the direction that normie cons are moving. And it's like, yeah, moving towards us is one thing. But the thing I've always thought was incredible about it is he had this incredible ability that I don't have, none of us on this stream have, no one in the audience has. He had this incredible ability to just be right there, like a magnet held right next to the normie, just drawing him a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. We're really going to miss him. I am not a virgin. I am Mr. FBI informant. I am not a virgin. That's a lie. Sorry.
Let's see. You know what? I realized I have not been checking entropy, so I'm going to bring up the next one, and I'm going to log into entropy. You guys handle this.
Aye. Appeal to Heaven 7 for $2. Read Psalm 58 verses 6 through 10. King James is worded perfectly. And everyone can take a look at that in their own time. Marcos 588 for another 15 Australian bucks. More moderate men in the Anglosphere may soon understand why patriotic squadristi,
it's an Italian word.
Yeah, there we go. Would exclaim, "Mine ne frego."
Mene frego.
Yeah, see, I speak American, with bullshit necks under their boots. I'd love to hear Furious discuss this with you guys. Furious Pertinax is indeed a friend of the channel and a friend of all of us. So if he does have some time, maybe we would discuss that. So carrying on. All right, Enlightened Despot for 10 Canadian bucks. Sorry, Miss Stream. We'll catch it later. Thanks for your efforts. My condolences to his family. The time to talk is over. Here. Clinging Mars for $5. Kirk will be remembered as our Huey Long, the man who could have been president. Well, I mean, unfortunately, like we were talking about earlier in the stream, we may never know what his career was going to be, but no doubt he was going to have a very long stand in this movement for sure. But we will honor his legacy for sure. He will not be forgotten. All right, and King billed again for $5. When he interviewed Yarvin in January 2024, he said he'd been studying Machiavelli with Michael Anton in the summer of 2023. And he was getting very anti-usury. Well, I mean, in that Tucker interview, he definitely showed some opinions critical of Israel. I'll say that much. So, I mean, the man was clearly moving in our direction. No doubt about that.
Okay, and yeah, it looks like we do have 2 on entropy. We got one from Skibum220 for $50. What a terrible crime. Prayers for his soul and his family. God's will be done. We are going to win. Absolutely. Chansey of NW. Is that Northwest? I don't know.
He's a frequent supercharger.
There are very dark spiritual forces moving swiftly. We need to stick together as brothers now more than ever. Yes, well, as Skibum and you just said, this is a spiritual battle we're in. Ultimately, we do need to rely on God's grace to make our way out of this, and we need to pray for Charlie Kirk's family, and pray that our governors can do the right thing. And then finally, we have Marcos 588 again for Australian $14.99. For those who don't recall, go watch Dave Rubin's interview with Candace Owens from 2016-2017. He's brilliant. He could be a future president. She saw it then, despite their split. Much to ponder. Interesting. I've heard people theorizing on that. We won't theorize on it because it's pointless, right? It just distracts from the events. But that's it for the super chats. I will. Would anyone like to lead on any closing statements? It looks like, yeah, we have something in the private chat. Can I put this up on stream? I can. I'm going to bring this up really quick. It's a statement from President Trump.
Oh, yeah, we should definitely listen to this.
All right, let me.
Great stream end.
Let me. How do I unpin this comment? I'm getting lost here now. There we go. All right. So I guess I will just share. I think the best way to do this would be to share the tab and then hope the audio goes through. All right, I'm just going to play this. Is that going through?
Yes,
I don't see it.
I need to add it to stage. There we go.
Yep, there you go.
Let me reset it and let me know if the audio is going through.
To my great fellow Americans,
Yes.
I'm filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the 2 young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others, radical left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was incredibly based.
He said everything. What more could you want as a conclusion to this stream? It's as though he was listening to it and reacted to everything we said.
I also I love that the older he gets, I can close my eyes, that Manhattan accent comes out, and I say it, he sounds like FDR. I'm sorry, I had to do it, but I love it. Beautiful. That was wonderful.
That was excellent. I'm very happy with that. Let's hope it transforms into action immediately.
Here.
Let's blitz these last couple chats that have come in. From Nuclear Caldeo, another 501. My girl told me that Charlie had asked her father for funding 10 years ago after she took him to a TPUSA event.
Oh, interesting. Well,
Psychic Necrosis for $5. His name is Robert Paulson. Apparently that's a Fight Club reference, which I've not seen in a long time, so
yeah, same here.
Forgive me. Don Browning, thank you for Australian $20. Sad face, muscles, and prayer. That is what we're made of right now. That's very accurate super chat. Boomer for $10. My wife is radicalized off TikTok for this. Yeah, I expect we'll see more stories. And we have another repeat. Thank you, Psychic Necrosis, for $5 again. His name was Robert Paulson. Well, his name was Charlie Kirk, as we heard from our president, Donald Trump. Does anyone have anything to say in closing before we end the stream?
I think the best closing I have was just made by Mr. President and Mr. Trump. Please act on everything you say.
Yeah, just end it there. You can't beat that.
We can't beat that. Thank you very much, everyone who tuned in, and especially for your generous donations tonight. We really appreciate it, and nothing you send us will be used in vain or trifled with. We really appreciate your generosity. And what day is it? It's Wednesday. We will see you, I guess, next week on Monday for American Spirits. Please tune into that show. It's very important if you want to understand what is an American. And we will continue on as ever with everything we're doing. You can rest assured of that. So thank you, everyone who joined us tonight, especially our special guest, who was on earlier. And, well, I bid you all good night.